Welcome to the Rastakhan's Rumble set review. This is going to be our third and final set review for the classes. Today we're going to be talking about Priest, Rogue, and Shaman. I am Zerotio, and with me is Virsica.
What's up, gang?
And just a little bit about our set review. We are going to be talking about three of the classes, and if you've been listening to our episode, in the most recent episode that we were about to record, we're going to be talking about all the neutral cards. If you are a patron, you're actually getting this this set review right away. This should be the last one of the classes right before we do the neutrals, and this is part of our thank you for the patrons having supported us for as long as you have. And if you are a patron, this is for you. If you're not a patron, you probably got this a few weeks later. We're going to roll these out to the public, maybe a week after each of the set reviews. And if you're interested in getting this content when we create it right away for our patrons, you can go over to patreon.com/heropower, become a patron for as little as $1 a month, and you'll be part of our patron-only Discord and get exclusive content like this. And today we're going to be talking about Rastakhan's Rumble. And we just did a pre-release yesterday, and we have some of these cards that we'll be reviewing tonight. We actually had experience with them live, playing with them right away. I actually played Hearthstone today and felt bad, was kind of sad that I didn't get to play with any Rastakhan's Rumble cards because that was a lot of fun.
I came home yesterday and looked through the new cards that I opened.
Yeah, I've been looking at the cards and theory crafting. I'm going to be buying a bunch more, so I cannot wait till Tuesday. But let's get on to the first card. Bwansamdi the Dead, which is the Priest Legendary Loa for the set. And it's a 7-mana, 7/7 body. With the battle cry, draw 1-cost minions from your deck until your hand is full. Now, I really was sour on this card. I thought it would be way too slow. It seemed like it wouldn't be all that strong. But there's a lot of incorporating cards in this set that make this even stronger, which we'll talk more about that. But I did open this card, and it was one of my 7 legendaries I got in 67 packs.
Oh, I know. You averaged more than a legendary every 10 cards, which is
true.
Pretty sick.
Yep.
That's a Vonti style luck right there. And I did call that you would get this card, by the way.
You did. I think you called it like 3 times, and then I finally did get it.
Yep.
But this card, seeing it played, it is actually really, really strong, really powerful. Yep. What do you think of
it? When in conjunction with the other cards that are coming out in this set, Bwansamdi, when it's allowed to happen, is really, really, really good. In fact, I think, I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of Warlock in the in the start, but I will say that Demonic Project, when I know this is in my opponent's hand, is real appealing because when we were doing the pre-constructed decks, this card it's brutal when it's played against you, and the other stuff has gone off.
Yeah, I think we referenced a few times during the gathering 6/8 Northshire clerics being pulled out with this. It's sick.
Heaven forbid that you actually individually kill off Sarnat chain gangs. While the spirit is up, because I mean, like I said, when in conjunction with the other cards, it's so powerful. Time will tell if the meta allows this card to flourish, but Priest is not nearly in as bad a shape as I thought it was.
Well, let's continue on with the Priest cards, because we'll be talking about Bwansamdi quite a bit as we move on. The next one is the Priest Champion. Now, each class has a Loa and a Champion, and a lot of the classes don't synergize. It's like 2 different game plans you can choose. Princess Talanji actually works really well with Bwansamdi. She's an 8-mana, 7/5 Priest minion. With Battlecry, summon all minions from your hand that didn't start in your deck.
So it's important to note that Bonsomdi pulls minions from your deck that are 1 cost.
Uh-huh.
You use the spirit to put those minions in your deck.
Which we'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah, she then takes them out of your hand that Bonsomdi put them in and puts them on the board. So you don't get the benefit of their battle cries, but if you've played some of the other cards of Priest in this set,
yep,
they are getting the stats. And let me tell you, it goes from looking like you've got the Priest right where you want them to staring down the barrel of a cannon, and it's pretty gross. So I was theory crafting a little bit with this because you have been screaming hyper aggro Priest for a while now.
Yes, I have.
So with some of the cards in this set, Stone Tusk Boar is really good in this deck. Just saying.
Yeah.
It gets gross.
And you also mentioned before South Sea Deckhand, which I know South Sea Deckhand requires you to have a weapon, but Dragon Soul is a weapon, and it never really breaks unless somebody destroys it.
Correct. So you play Dragon Soul, and you just leave it there for when you run your South Sea Deckhands in. You can make a charge Priest deck if you have the time. So that's the thing. Can Priest survive enough? And we're getting into a couple of cards here in a minute where I think they can. But with Zola the Gorgon and one of the other Priest cards that we're going to talk about later, and Faceless Manipulator, there are ways to copy said Stone Tusk Boar to put back in your deck to make the Bonsomdi Talanji combo pull off and OTK your opponent on turn 8.
That's pretty
well, it won't be like you'll have 8 mana, but it won't be like legitimate turn 8. It'll be like turn 11. But still, faster than any of the Priest OTKs that are currently around.
And speaking of those other cards, let's get into the epics so we can start really discussing this style of deck. We have Surrender to Madness. It's a 3-mana Priest spell. And I think this is a card you were talking about. Destroy 3 of your mana crystals. Give all minions in your deck +2/+2.
Yes. It is sort of the linchpin for this deck to work.
Yeah.
And let me just tell you, when it works, it works. And it's pretty gross. And we were talking earlier that you think destroy 3 your mana crystals, you don't want to give that kind of tempo away. Honestly, this deck doesn't really need more than 8 mana crystals.
True.
So, it doesn't suffer from losing 3 mana crystals as much as you might think it would. And that is something that we found out firsthand at the pre-release with the pre-construct deck. It actually isn't as debilitating as one might think.
Yeah, and the thing about this card is if you play it on 10, you'll go to 7, but the next turn you'll be back at 8. And the pre-constructed decks, the recipe decks that they have right now are really, really, really good. I thought Boomsday was one of the best I've ever seen. These might be. I'm really excited. I always stream the recipe decks, and now it's easy because I can just play Whizbang. But I'm really excited to see these recipe decks in play, and then take those decks and min-max them to maybe still have that game plan, but have more optimal cards in them.
So one of the things that I didn't tell you about earlier, I was playing against the No Holds Barred, and someone actually played Surrender to Madness. They played Surrender to Madness, and then the next turn, they played the neutral legendary that took us both back down to 5 mana.
The Voodoo Master Zihi.
So yeah, it really at that point it really didn't matter at all that they had done the Surrender to Madness because we were back at the exact same place.
And I opened him, and I thought that would be a good deck for him. Is in a deck. Not only will it even you back out after you've destroyed your crystals, and he's 6 mana, so you'll have to get back up to 6. But also, if your opponent ramps, you'll be able to do that. And again, we'll be talking more about him in our neutral set review, which will be live on our next episode. But yeah, it definitely this deck has promise. But
Yeah.
let's get on to the next epic, and that is the Akamai Phantasm. It's a priest minion, 2 mana, 3/2. Battlecry. This turn, your healing effects deal damage instead. Now, it's important to note, it's this turn, meaning if she dies in the process, you'll still have the damage effect, and if she lives, next turn, you'll be back to healing. So it's not like Akanai that if it's in play, it has the damage. And when I was kind of spitballing a new style of deck that's like a an Akanai burn deck using Malagos and Velen, and I was like, wow, Akanai is just too expensive for this to work. And then this card was revealed, and I was telling myself I wanted that 2 mana, and I think it's Embrace the Shadows. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted that spell back, and this is that spell, but in a minion form.
Yep.
It's really strong. I like it. I think it's going to be the center point for a heal burn deck.
But I think she also allows you to control because now you can clear the board with 2 mana, whereas before it took 4. So you have a
Yeah,
lot more versatility in using the Circle of Healing combo.
true.
Also a 3/2 body. Yeah, if you're running up against if you're running up against a deck that you've determined is a little slower,
Mhm.
you can just put her out and use that 3/2 body early because Priest doesn't have a lot of good early game minions. Um, so she gives you a little bit of versatility. She's also this card is so sick in Golden. They did such a good work or such a good job with the artwork. It is one of the most beautiful Golden cards I've seen.
Is there any merit to putting her in an even priest where you can use your hero power for 1 mana?
Oh, I think so.
I just thought of that.
Yeah, I
And
think
we'll,
so.
we'll be talking about another card that could go in that deck in a little bit. But let's go ahead and move on to the first rare. It is a rare minion for priest, Spirit of the Dead. It's a 1 mana 0/3. It's the spirit, so it has the ability of stealth for 1 turn. After a friendly minion dies, shuffle a 1 cost copy of it into your deck. This is strong. You could have a 1 cost Lich King in your deck. I think
Mm-hmm.
we saw a lot of 1 cost um, uh, Serenite Chain Gangs where
Yes.
they would throw this down, trade the Serenites in. All of a sudden, you have two 1 cost Serenites, which make a total of 4,
Yeah.
uh, and just snowballs from there. And then they get all the madness buffs, and it's just sick.
It's so gross. This is definitely the one zombie enabler.
Uh huh.
So I mean, you're going to use it to put minions in the deck. You're not going to use it in conjunction with Bonsomdi. Like a lot of the, we were talking earlier, a lot of the Loas seem to have just a very loose association with their spirit
Yeah.
and their champions. These three, the priest, spirit, champion, and Loa, all work in conjunction, building one combination of effect. And I think that I think it's the strongest synergy of any of the Loa spirit champion. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that you're playing Spirit of the Dead long before you're going to use Bonsomdi. So I think it gives you a little more versatility in the fact that it isn't just a dead card while you're waiting on your Loa.
Yeah, I like it.
And the one casting cost
Yeah,
is
that was
huge.
exactly what I was gonna say. At 1 mana, there's so many combinations you could do. I mean, if you have a bunch of 1 health minions on the board, you could 1 mana throw this out, and then Spirit Lash. It's gonna kill your minions, but you're getting that healing, and they go back into your deck. So
Mm-hmm.
I like this card. It's gonna make that deck a lot of fun. The next card is a rare minion for priest, 12 mana, 7/8 taunt. Costs 1 less for each spell you've cast this game. Um, so a spell based priest is possible. This is kind of like Arcane Giant, except it has taunt and a slightly smaller stat line. And if you're casting a lot of spells, you can put Dragon Soul, the priest weapon, in there and have lots of 5/5 dragons. I like this card. I don't think it really goes into the Bonsomdi deck, You could one of in there, but what do you think of this card?
See, I like it, and I actually do think one of in the Bonsomdi deck is good as long as Lich King is in the meta. I
Okay.
think once Lich King rotates, I think you put two in, and the reason why is so just one um, just one of the madness sends this to a 9-10, and you've permanently reduced the cost of it to 11.
Wow.
So, I mean, we play giants right now in virtually every other archetype, and they're 12 mana or better for an 8/8. And one embrace madness, and or one surrender to madness, and you've already surpassed those stats.
It's a
You're
nine
going
ten
to
at that point.
Right, you're going to play healing effects. You're going to play right now. You're going to play Shadow Visions, which in essence nets you an extra spell. Um, you're going to play Shadow Word Deaths. You're going to play other cards that we're going to see later. This is the sort of end game that Priest is missing. Priest has always relied on neutral minions past turn 6
Hmm.
to shore up their end game. This is actually, as far as I can recall, the first legitimate in-game threat that Priest has had, and if you're using it with Surrender to Madness, it is going to be so big by the time it comes out. I mean, we're talking like the 12/12 from Stalag and Fusion from,
Fugen Stalag, yeah. Wow.
uh, when
11-11,
you're
but
looking
yeah,
at it.
still.
Yeah, I mean,
That's crazy.
it's pretty gross,
Yeah,
and it's got taunt.
this will be yeah. The taunt really, the fact that you can lay this next to the spirit and they have to decide if they want to clear it because they don't want if they can't kill the spirit because it has stealth.
Right,
They don't want to give you a one cost of this in your deck, but they may have to. Uh,
exactly.
yeah, this is it's
And I mean,
maybe it does go
then
in that deck.
then think about this. You put a one cost version in, that means you've got a free one coming.
Yeah, one spell and it's free. Yeah,
Yeah, I think it has a place. I think right now Lich King, even at 8 mana and not being discounted, I think is still better because of your card value. But think about this: Lich King also gives you spells.
it's true.
If you're running Ysera, it also gives you spells. It's I think the versatility is there. Will the meta be slow enough to allow it to see play? We don't know yet. But I
And
think if this deck sees play, I think this card sees play.
okay, moving on to the next card is 5 mana pre spell. It's a rare. Uh, Mass Hysteria. Force each minion to attack another random minion. Now, I think we talked about it before. I wanted to like this card, and then I saw it in practice. And if your opponent's board's filled with minions, it can be pretty good for you. Uh, but if they have varying attacks and health, pretty much the small minions die and the big minions just get chunked down a little bit. I think it's going to be better if the meta is even stats across the board, like a zoo or odd paladin. Uh, we'll just have to see. I'm not really sold on this card, but what do you think about it?
So, like you said, we had talked about this quite a bit, and the jury was kind of out on it. And then when we saw it in play, um, once again, it didn't really seem to have the powerful effect that we were hoping.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, the decks that we were playing were very controlled. It was a very controlled environment. We didn't have to worry about Odd Paladin. We didn't have to worry about even Shaman. We didn't have to worry about Zoo Warlock. The reality is that those three decks exist and are very popular in the meta right now. You can actually also add in Token Druid.
Okay.
You can add in, and I just lost it. Um,
Odd Rogue,
Odd
maybe.
Rogue. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was trying to think of. I think those five decks in particular are very common, especially at the beginning of the month when people are trying to climb quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if it is an aggro to aggro mid range deck, Mass Hysteria is going to wreck it. Um, but you run into Death Rattle Hunter, you run into Shutterwalk Shaman, you run into Dragon Warrior, you run into um, another control style deck, Mass Hysteria is not going to give you what you're looking for, and it's just going to sit in your hand.
Yeah,
So, I think a one of, unless we see the meta turn aggressive. And to be quite honest, if it doesn't turn aggressive, then we see the one zombie deck start to wreck people. So
that's true.
I think this kind of shored up Priest's weaknesses. You either let us have one zombie, or we don't have one zombie, and we're running a different type of control deck, and Mass Hysteria combined with Psychic Scream, combined with Phantasm, Circle of Healing, combined with Spirit Leash. Right now, you're just not going to get to have anything. And
Yeah,
that could be equally as powerful.
that's a fair statement. I didn't think of that. That where this deck falters, or where this card falters, the other deck shines. So yeah, that works out. Moving on to our next card, we're getting into the commons. It's a common minion, Sand Drudge, 3 mana, 3/3. Whenever you cast a spell, summon a 1/1 zombie with taunt. Um, I really, I didn't like this card, and seeing it used this weekend, it was a bit annoying. But I still don't think it's great. I don't think there's a great home for this card right now. Uh, but mainly because it's a cast a spell. If it's a primarily spell based priest, I just don't think this is gonna do enough. What do you think?
I agree. I think early game you're not really casting a lot in priest because you're pretty reactionary. Um, Also at 3 mana 3/3, I think this card is just hands down worse than Mind Control Tech. And I think right now Mind Control Tech min maxes a little bit better for you.
Yeah,
And in an environment where this would be good would be once again against like an odd paladin or something that's going to go wide early, like an odd rogue. But even then, you're not fighting back for board control. You're more just trying to not take punishment.
speed
And
bump.
I think, yeah, and I think if you're playing a spell-based priest, you need to be dictating what your opponent is doing. This seems to me like you're reacting to what your opponent is doing. So for me, there's no real environment right now where I see this card really taking uh, full effect of what it does. That's not to say that there isn't potential there. I look at this card, I see potential. I look at it and I see, like there's like this nagging little voice in the back of my head, like you're not seeing something. I keep coming back to this card and I'm thinking you're being too hard on this card. There's got to be something you're not paying attention to. So maybe later down the road we see this card come back, but I think for right now I think it's just worse than Mind Control Tech
Yeah, I would agree with you.
and Duskbreaker, because you got Duskbreaker right behind it. You put this on the board and you're investing in this, you're reluctant to use your Duskbreaker, and right now Duskbreaker is one of the most important cards in Priest.
That's true. That's true. The next card is, and I know we'll have a lot to talk about this one, is a priest spell common Seance. 2 mana, choose a minion, add a copy of it to your hand. I was a little lukewarm on this when I saw it because it was a card convert. Was it convert to madness?
Just
And
convert.
it was a convert. You targeted an enemy minion. Well,
Yeah.
this for the same mana cost is choose a minion. So you can pick your own. You pick enemy minion. It doesn't matter. Um, this wrecked me pretty hard this weekend. I don't know about you, but it was used quite a bit, and it hurt.
So do you remember us saying earlier about big Sarnat chain gangs coming down?
Yep.
So you chain gang and you stay on one of the chain gangs, and you get to do it again next turn.
Mm.
Um, yeah, you copy anything once it gets huge.
Copy the grave
Yeah,
horror.
I mean, yeah, it's just it's so gross. Um, yeah, because you copy that grave horde, it's coming back to your hand, and it's still going to take into account the number of spells you cast.
Yep.
And so, I mean, it's just once again, is the meta going to be slow enough to use it? We don't know yet. I, if it is, if this is a mass hysteria style meta, I think Seance will be. It could be really powerful if if given the time to execute it properly. Um, yeah, but is and I'm going to talk a little wild here, but as if Wild needed another way for Resurrect Priest to become more powerful, this just did it.
Yeah, I mean,
So I think it.
you Barnes into Seance your own Barnes so you can Barnes again next turn.
Yeah, I mean, this finds an immediate home in Wild, um, Resurrect Priest. So, like I
Oh,
said, I think it is powerful. Will it be? Will the meta be slow enough to really see how powerful it can be? I don't know yet. But I think we
two
see
mana is
it.
pretty easy to fit in though.
Yeah, but think about what you're sacrificing. Number one, you're not running Keleseth. Um,
I don't think you
but
run Kelsup in the style deck. I think it's gonna be heavy spells.
well, I
Uh,
mean, I would consider running Keleseth in the Bonsomdi deck. But
mm,
you're if you're doing that, you're cutting out Shadow Word Pain, which is an important early game spell.
yeah,
So I mean, right now you got the two slot is really it's really crowded with Shadow Visions, with Mind Blast, with Healing, with um, Shadow Word Pain, so
yeah.
removal. Now you've got the Akamai Phantasm that's in that slot that I feel like is a must run with the way the current wide board states are running. So it's can this card is it worth taking out one of your late game cards to do in a late game setting? And right now I just don't know if Priest has that kind of room until rotation.
That's a fair statement. Yeah, I can see that. We'll get into our last priest card. It is a common spell, 0 mana. It's called Regenerate. 0 mana, restore 3 health. Now, this card, along with the Akanai card and possibly Velen and Malagos, I
It's so
see an
brutal.
OTK style priest possible. What do you think about this card?
So I'm going to actually put it in pretty simple terms in the sense that 0 mana is infinite versatility.
Mm-hmm.
You can use it whenever, right? So turn one, let's say that you lay down a Northshire cleric, and let's say that turn two they end up damaging it just so you have to spend your mana and basically spend turn two to draw a card. If you need to draw a card that badly, but you have something like, I don't know, let's say that you want to play a tempo Phantasm to create a little more pressure on the board against Odd Rogue, and you know that you've got Circle of Healing, and I mean, there's so many different things you can do with it. I mean, you lay down a Phantasm, and now um, that 4/4 thug that your Odd Rogue has played now suddenly gets straight up taken out
Yep.
by regenerate and anything
And
else you had on
Northshire
the board,
Cleric, yeah.
or if you can hero power and do it with it. I mean, it gives you so many options with the Phantasm, and then later in the game, when you need just that extra little bit to keep from dying, it's there. I think you can use it throughout. Um, what does this replace in the current priest? I don't think there is a current priest archetype that runs this right now. So,
No, I mean, I think
uh,
this would be a new deck.
yeah,
I think it would be a deck similar to cloning Gallery Priest, but it would, instead of using the Mind Blast or in conjunction with the Mind Blast, you use, because if you have Regenerate with Velen and Malagos in play, that's 16 points of damage.
yeah. So maybe you use it instead of smite.
Yeah, it's oh, sick. It's so sick. You I think you said it before. Zero cost. Oh no, Matt at Arms said it in the last review you did. Zero cost uh, cards will either break the system or are just horrible.
Yeah. No, I agree because Pounce is another card that we're talking about. I think if it's a zero casting card that has an effect like this, it sees play in virtually every version of the deck. They just got to figure out where to put it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm excited for it. Now let's get on to speaking of other classes. Get on to the Rogue, and I just happened to open this card. It was my very first legendary.
Oh, I know. In your first pack.
It was in my first pack and my first legendary. I actually opened I think 3 legendaries in my first 10 packs. It was pretty sick. Uh, it's the legendary Loafer Rogue, Grawl the Shark. He's a 5 mana 2/2 beast with battle cry. Eat a minion in your deck and gain its stats. Death rattle. Add it to your hand. Um, I think if the Death Rattle was to summon it, it might make it better. I don't think he's that great. I did use him a little bit. He was a little underwhelming. Obviously, anything with Death Rattles is susceptible to, or buffs susceptible to silence, but that doesn't
Silence.
just make this bad. It's kind of cumbersome, slow, and you really have to have the perfect deck. I think I used him and he became a 3/3 because he ate a 1/1.
Yeah, so this is an example of cards that I like in Hearthstone.
Well, you like sharks, so
Well, I like sharks. That's outside of Hearthstone. I like cards in Hearthstone that have a high risk, high reward, a manageable amount of RNG that isn't just game altering or game deciding,
uh-huh.
and cards that reward great timing. It rewards knowing what you have left in your deck and what you need.
Hmm.
Because if you're playing a deck where you have something in the bottom of your deck and you need it, and you know that you've got a bunch of, like, let's say Miracle, you know you got a bunch of spells that you got to use to get there, and you know you've got 2 auctioneers in your deck, and you know you've got 2 other minions in your deck. Your 2 auctioneers are somewhere babysitting at the bottom. Maybe this guy goes and eats one. Well, then he becomes a 6/6, and you got an auctioneer when he dies.
Yeah,
Um, I think
that's
it would
pretty good.
be. I think people will be reluctant to spend silence effects on him at first. So I think the death rattle will start off being allowed to happen, and then I think people just start silencing him. Um, I like the card, but I don't think this is going to sound awful. I don't think there's much room in Hearthstone for fun anymore. I think I think it's either super competitive or it just doesn't see play.
uh,
This card is a lot like Face Collector to me, super fun, but because it's not super competitive, it'll probably never really see the board.
well, I think what Purple once said publicly, winning is fun. So
Yeah. Well,
that
you
tends to
know what I
be
think of purple too.
that's true. We won't get into that. We'll go into the next legendary, which is the rogue legendary Captain Hook Tusk, 8 mana, 6/3 pirate. Battle cry: summon 3 pirates from your deck. Give them rush. So I saw this at first and was like, it's clunky, but I saw it in practice on the reveal stream, and it actually is really good. Giving these pirates, some of these new pirates are pretty big. They're not just your, 1, 2, 3 attack pirates. They're bigger than that, and they can get bigger than that. Um,
And South Sea Captain is a pirate.
South Sea Captain is a pirate. I mean, I don't know if you necessarily want to rush with him, but if it
No,
comes
but
out
the
with
other
your other
things get to
minions,
rush. Yep.
then they rush. So I mean, I think Pirate Rogue's gonna be coming in, and it might be the deck everybody immediately uses to go up the ladder. I think first week. Uh,
So I think the pirate no one is talking about actually came out with last set. It was it's cutthroat something. It's a 5/3 that rushes its death rattle is draw a combo card from your deck.
yes, yes,
I think that in conjunction with this is pretty good. Um,
yeah.
there are a couple of different pirates in here that are okay. I think right now Rogue has to solve the problem of right now it can't manage wide board states early,
Hmm.
and I think that's a big problem. And
Well,
I don't think
this set may allow that now. It's in the form of rushing minions,
right.
but it might allow for that.
So I mean, we'll see. 8 mana is a tall order for
True.
Rogue right now, I think. So I think her mana cost will be the biggest deterrent to playing her. If you're playing that style of rushing pirates at turn 8, if you don't have the game well in hand and using her as a finisher, you're probably not going to win anyway.
I mean, so much using her as a finisher. I mean, a rush, not charge, but
Well, but I mean, clearing the board to make way for whatever you need.
yeah. All right, moving on to the next epic, which I think this card will definitely be in that deck, is the Rogue spell Cannon Barrage. It's an epic spell, 6 mana, deal 3 damage to a random enemy. Repeat for each of your pirates. This can it hits every enemy, and if they're out of minions, it can go face, or it can just all go face.
Yep.
Timing this with obviously you can't play it with Hook Tusk because it's 8 mana and 6 mana, but you can possibly find a way to cheat it out, with conjunction with other pirates by using prep. Uh, I think this is going to be a really strong card. I don't think it's going to be terribly overpowering, but it's definitely going to be a key part of that deck because it needs that removal. What do you think?
I think combined with prep early, I think this could be part of that early board clear I was talking about Rogue really needing to find.
Okay.
There's a lot of cheap Rogue cards out there, and then I think there's a new neutral minion that when your hero attacks, you gain a pirate,
Yes.
a 1/1 pirate. So I think in conjunction with that, or like even Rogue, this actually fits really well into even Rogue, but you lose the advantage of prep, but you gain the advantage of making a lot of pirates.
No, you don't lose the advantage of prep in even rogue. Prep is considered at zero cost
Oh, is
a
it?
even card. Yeah, zero cost
Oh,
cards are
okay.
considered even.
I didn't
Uh,
actually use any zero cost in my even rogue because I didn't know for sure.
yep.
So yeah, so there you go. You can use it in conjunction with prep in that deck
Yeah.
too.
And
So I think this finds a home in even rogue. I think even rogue actually starts to maybe find some footing. I think people will toy around with it. Whether someone actually finds a formula to make it work or not is still up in the air. But
I
I think the combination of this card and there's another card we're going to talk about here in a minute. I think it makes even Rogue. I won't go as far as to say viable, but I'll go as far as to say I think it makes it plausible.
and I just remembered from yesterday one of the recipe decks is a even pirate rogue.
Oh,
Um,
there you go.
so it's I mean the shell is already there. Then we just have to play with it and optimize it, and it'll work because a lot like Shark Fin Fan is 2 cost, Prep's 0. The Tusk, the legendary is 8. So yeah, let's move on to the next epic, and I think this deck is gonna kind of flesh out. We have the Goreboshy Hype. Love what they did there. It is an epic minion for Rogue, a 7 mana 5/7. Battle Cry. Discover a 1/1 copy of a Battle Cry minion. It cost 1. I'm not sold on this because it's discover, so you're going to discover a rogue or a neutral minion. You can't discover something like Shudderwalk in a rogue. Um, I'm just not seeing enough Battlecry minions in rogue and neutral to want to play this card. It reminds me a lot of there was a Mean Streets of Gadgetzan card that was destroy a Death Rattle minion. It was 7 mana 5/7, and I just don't like the stat line, the mana cost. I just think it's bad. What do you think?
I I tend to agree. Someone's going to have to show me. Someone smarter than me is going to have to show me how to use this card properly.
Yeah.
Because right now I'm looking at it and I just don't see it.
Yeah, I love that he's got the peg leg, and I love the art on him. Don't get me
Hmm.
wrong, but yeah, it's a bad card. We'll move right along from this one. We're getting into the rare cards, and we have the Spirit of the Shark, which is the Spirit for Rogue. It's a 4 mana 0/3 minion with stealth for 1 turn, like all the spirits. Your minions battle cry and combo trigger twice. Now, I did a little research over a lot of the combo cards. A lot of the combo cards don't really get a lot of benefit from triggering twice. Your Vilespine Slayer will hit the same target twice. That doesn't really do anything. Um, you do get twice as much from the combos that grab minions out of your deck, but you got to worry about hand size. Edward Van Cleef is a great example of a card that would go well with this. And there are a lot of Battlecry and combos in that odd Pirate Rogue. I just don't know if this card will fit in there.
So, I actually really like this card in conjunction with its Loa. I think it increases the chances of hitting something impactful, but I think it also increases its chances of getting silenced. I like this card in conjunction with SI7 Agent. I like it in conjunction with I just lost the name of the card. The 4/4 that puts the spiders in the deck.
But
you know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about, and it's blanking on me too.
Yeah, so I think Rogue has Battlecry. I mean, Spine Slayer right now doesn't really allow you to do 2 targets. So like you think of impactful battle cries right now. That's the card that comes to mind. But they're like SI7 Agent was the original impactful battle cry for, for Rogue. And then once again you think of you think of Edwin. Edwin could benefit from it, but I'm thinking more of those. I'm not thinking more of in use with the Loa and maybe some of the other pirate minions.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it definitely belongs in the pirate deck, even if its Loa doesn't. So I think it will see play. I think it will definitely see play in any deck that relies heavily on the rogue battle cries and not the spells.
Okay, that's fair. And for those watching on the video, I do know that Virsica's camera is frozen, but we are still moving right along, and everything is recording fine. So we're just going to continue on. The next rare is Raiding Party. It is a rogue spell, 3 mana, rare spell. Draw 2 pirates from your deck, combo, and a weapon. Honestly, the combo is inconsequential. You don't even need the combo, and this card is good. If you get the combo and have a weapon in the deck that's worth playing, it's even better. Drawing 2 pirates for 3 mana is just, it's really good. It worked really well when I saw it yesterday. What do you think?
So when I saw this card, my first thought went to Kingsbane.
Ooh.
And running Kingsbane with pirates and Blade Flurry to kind of help control the board outside of the obvious board trade, right?
Yeah,
so
wasn't there at least
poison.
one pirate from last set that buffed your attack by 1?
Sure did. And
wow.
So, now you look at having prep into this on turn 1, and you can draw 2 of your pirates and your Kingsbane right off the bat.
That's pretty sick.
I mean, it costs you a prep, but you get part of a good portion of what makes your deck start right off the bat. So that's, I think in the right hands, Raiding Party is going to be a great tempo swing.
I just noticed in the art you got these 3 pirates, and one of the pirates has a dagger for you in his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
that's how your weapon. It has been in a goblin's mouth, so let's remember that and watch it real good before you use it.
That's why pirates wear gloves. Have you ever seen a pirate without gloves?
That's fair, I guess. The next card is a rare minion, Bloodcell Howler, 2 mana 1/1 pirate, rush, battle cry, gain +1/+1 for each other pirate you control. I rated this pretty low. I didn't really like it, but when I saw it in the even pirate rogue, it did a lot of work. And you can play the legendary Hook Tusk and him together on turn 10. So she'll summon 3 pirates. You play him out, he's all of a sudden at least a 4/4 with Rush.
Yeah. So think about this. Imagine having that in your hand with your spirit,
Mm-hmm.
and suddenly that battle cry becomes super ridiculous for 2 mana.
Yeah, that's sick.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
And see if if my Loa grabs him, I'm not terribly disappointed because it puts him in my hand.
That's
I don't
true.
have to go looking for him.
You're talking about
Yeah.
Grawl the Shark. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
So
Don't hate that. We're getting into the comments. It's a 4 mana Walk the Plank. It's a rogue spell. Destroy an undamaged minion. I like this card. I know a lot of people are comparing it to Vilespine Slayer, where you have to combo and it's 1 mana more. And this is just 4 mana, destroy an undamaged minion. If they find some way to get a really early Lich King or some big beefy minion, it just kills it.
So if you're rogue right now and you come up against even lock, you're dead in the water. I mean, give
Yeah,
me a rogue right now that isn't heavily disadvantaged against even lock.
that's true. This kills the mountain giants that come out on 4.
3. They can get it out on
Well,
3.
with the coin, yes, but
Yeah. So
it'll be your
they,
turn 4 regardless.
right. So then they they waste all that tempo. They pull their hand full of cards. They've tapped to get there, cause themselves a bunch of damage. They throw this out, and then you basically make it walk the plank. And
Yeah.
yeah, this card makes even rogue plausible.
Is that knife juggler on the plank?
God, I hope so, but I don't think it is.
Okay, it looks kind of like knife juggler. I don't know.
I think it's no. It looks like mage shoulders.
Oh, okay. I'll have
Maybe
to
it's
research that.
Millhouse.
Maybe I'll have to research that. And if you
Anyways,
Millhouse and then they get a free walk the plank, he deserves to die.
exactly.
Okay, moving on to the next common. It is another rogue common spell. Stolen Steel. 2 mana. Discover a weapon from another class. Now, this says from another class. When I first read it, I thought it read from your opponent's class. And I thought, wow, this will be great against, classes that only have the one weapon. But that's not the case. So you will get a non-rogue weapon. Getting Valinir from this, there's a lot of really good weapons you could get. And right now in Standard, not too many really bad weapons. Only a few really bad weapons. I like this. I don't know. I really don't know if it has a home in any decks, but I'm interested in trying it.
I think it has a home in Kingsbane Rogue, and I'll tell you why. Doomhammer.
Doomhammer.
Can you imagine Doomhammer in a Kingsbane setup?
With all the buffs?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah? I mean, it's a small chance to get Doomhammer, but
The
that's
point is
possible.
that it's there. Or Arcanite Reaper.
Yeah, Arcanite Reaper's a good one. A Valinir's a good one. There's a lot of really good weapons.
I mean, True Silver Champion and Vine Cleaver both right now are pretty sick.
Yeah.
I think for 2 mana, it's worth taking a chance on.
I think so too.
If you're in Kingsbane, because in order for this to make sense, you've got to be running Deadly Poison. If you're not running Deadly Poison, don't run this card. But if you're running Deadly Poison, this should be in spot of your lifesteal, your second lifesteal.
Just running one lifesteal?
Yeah.
I don't hate that. That's actually a good point. I've always thought running 2 lifesteal seemed a little weak to me anyway. So,
yeah.
Moving on to the next common card, it is a rogue weapon, Serrated Tooth, 1 mana, 1/3 weapon. Death Rattle. Give your minions rush. Good thing to note is give your minions plural. So the more minions you have on the board, the more minions get rush. This wrecked me a few times this weekend,
Yep.
and it's good. It's a good, and you can choose when to overwrite this. Plus, you can play this and then use your hero power to overwrite it without having to use all the attack on it.
Yep. Or if you're playing Kingsbane, just Kingsbane over top of it.
You're hung up on that Kingsbane, ain't you?
Well, I'm just saying when I look at this set, it's like, okay, so right now, how do you clear the board as a rogue?
You need
There's
minions.
so many board state,
Yeah.
right? So if you trade your minions, you trade your tempo.
I just don't see putting this in Kingsbane because then you could grab this instead of your Kingsbane.
Well, so what else does Kingsbane normally run?
As a weapon? Just
No,
Kingsbane.
it just minions. Think
Min-
about the things that Kingsbane
Shiny
normally runs.
Finder, buff minions, minions to get more minions that are buff minions.
The spider that makes other spiders.
Oh, I don't run that in my Kingsbane.
Do you not?
Ooh.
Oh, okay. Well, how effective is your Kingsbane right now?
It works pretty well. I double down on all the. I do more removal and a lot more weapon buffs.
I got you.
Oh.
Well, and because I don't run a lot of minions, that spider helps me.
I guess that makes sense. That would make sense.
Um, anyways, so I would run this in any deck that ran that card because let's say that you've got Myras in your hand, you Myra out, you fill your board full of 4/4 spiders, give them rush. It clears the board with 4/4s. Chances are pretty good most of them are sticking around.
Yeah.
And then next turn you're probably good to go.
And usually one of the biggest problems with those spiders are they come out at the beginning of your turn when you draw, and then
they're dead by the time
they're dead by the time you attack them. So this would allow them to at least rush. That would make sense. So I think it would go in a tempo rogue.
Well, my Kingsbane and my Tempo Rogue are pretty much the same thing. So I guess when I say Kingsbane Rogue, I'm using Kingsbane as a way to keep my board clear.
Gotcha. So. Okay, moving on to the next class, Shaman. I know you're really excited about this.
I was so disappointed.
Really?
I really was. I felt like once again, it's like they didn't know what direction to take it. It's like Shaman. It's like all the other classes in Rastakhan's Rumble have a definite direction they're heading.
Okay.
You look at all the classes and you can see now whether or not you're going to use that strategy or where Blizzard is sending you this time. It's there. And then you have Shaman, and there is no direction at all.
So let's get into the first Shaman legendary then. It's Zentimo, which is their champion. The 3-mana 1/3 minion. Whenever you target a minion with a spell, it also targets adjacent ones. Now, I really like this card. I mean, this can with 7 mana you can hex 3 minions at once. I think a lot of people talked about if your board's big enough, you don't want to hit Zentimo with this, but you could use
Unstable
Evolution to evolve your board over and over again, and it's kind of like the old school evolution where it did your whole board.
So I actually did that with him once.
How'd it work?
It actually ended up having to evolve him as well. But I mean, it was fine because at that point it didn't matter.
Yeah. It did done its job.
Evolve.
Yeah.
So I look at this card, and Hex, of course, is the obvious. I think Lava Burst is good here.
Okay.
I think Tidal Surge is the one that sticks out the most in my head.
That's a lot of healing on top of damage.
Yeah. So you deal 4 damage to 3 different minions, and you heal for 12.
Yeah.
That's pretty much a healing rain, and you're getting to do 12 points of divided damage. I know it rotates with Mammoth, but we have it for a little bit of time. I think Zap is going to be pretty powerful with it. Lightning
Oh
Bolt
yeah.
is going to be powerful. Um, Earth Shock is going to be very powerful
So here's
with
my
him.
question: if you target a minion that's next to a minion that says cannot be targeted by spells, will it still hit them?
I think
Because you're not targeting it.
Zentimo's effect overrides the not targeting. It'll be
So
interesting to try out. Probably something that we
that's
try out in Alchemy Lab.
that's a way to deal with like a bear shark or a bear shark that's been used as
Houndmaster
a
target.
zombies.
Or a Zombies, yep.
So which could be even bigger than a
In
regular
fact,
bear shark.
the Zombies is actually where I was actually thinking the Earth Shock comes into play.
Yeah,
That was my when I'm thinking of current meta decks, Zombies. Death Rattle Hunter is the deck that I'm thinking of because right now I feel like it's the most powerful deck in
it
the meta.
is.
So
It is. I like Zentimo. I think he's gonna be really strong. I'm excited to see where they go with him. Let's move on to the Loa, which is Kraghua the Frog. I also opened him. I think you opened Zentimo and I opened Kraghua.
yeah,
So together we're the perfect shaman. It's a 6 mana 4/6 beast. Battle cry. Return all spells you played last turn to your hand. This is pretty sick. I don't know how he works with Zentimo. I don't know if you got to test that or not. If you say Zentimo and Lightning Bolt and it
he
casts it three
returns
times.
3 lightning bolts.
Oh my goodness. That's crazy.
Whether that's intended or not, I don't know. It did in the um,
Reveal video?
Rumble.
Oh,
No,
Rumble.
because
Okay.
we didn't get to see
That's
anything in
right.
the
That's
reveal
right. Yeah,
video.
that's right. I
We
forgot about
we
that.
got to see Knights of the Frozen Throne evolve Shaman.
Yeah.
I think we got
That's
to see 1 or 2 new cards.
yeah, in the brawl that we got to play yesterday. You said
Hmm.
you saw this happen? Okay. Well,
Yeah.
good.
Um.
And you
So
also were talking about a little bit of a combo.
yeah, and we'll get to that when we get to. I think
Okay.
it's the next card.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move on then. We'll get
Well, we'll talk about it when we get to the Shaman Spirit. But yeah, so Kraghua actually does have a combo with his Spirit. Uh,
yeah.
so that's pretty cool. It
And we'll
doesn't
talk about that when
it
we get to the spirit.
I guess indirectly with Zentimo, but mostly Kraghua and his Spirit work
Okay.
independently of Zentimo.
Cool. Well, let's move on to the epics. We have Haunting Vision. I know this is one of the cards in the combo you're talking about, but we'll
Yes.
get to that later. It's a 3 mana shaman spell. The next spell you cast this turn costs 3 less. Discover a spell, and it is.
Yes.
And remember, discover will discover a shaman spell because it's class specific, or neutral, which are no neutral spells yet. So, um, I don't really have a big opinion on this card because I'm not as big a shaman player as you are, and you have to have kind of a knowledge of shaman. Give us your synopsis on Haunting Visions.
I think this card is super powerful. Um, I think it's super powerful in conjunction with the Shaman Spirit, which we'll talk about here in a minute. Um, the other thing that it allows you to do is pick a spell that you didn't necessarily put in your deck that can work in the situation that you're in, a lot like Hagatha,
Uh-huh.
but gives you the option whether you want to cast it this turn or you have something else in your hand that you want to cast. So if you play this spell and you don't have anything else in your hand that you're willing to cast, you're pretty much stuck playing something you discover or letting the effect die. So you can use it as a 3 mana discover a shaman spell, or you can set it up to where you like cast a free healing rain or a free lightning storm or something like that, and then replace that spell with whatever you discover. Um, in the shaman games that I played, every time I played Haunting Visions, it ended up empowering my position.
Okay.
So I've not had it whiff yet. I'm sure it will happen because Shaman does have some crap spells, but the fact that you're getting to choose from 3 of them, there's a pretty good chance you're going to pull something that you like.
Yeah.
If it costs less than 3, you're pretty much going to get to play it for free.
And it's a good thing to note that the spell you discover off this, if you choose to cast it, will be reduced by 3.
Yes. It's
So
whichever spell you play next.
yep.
So one game, I played this first, and then I played Zentimo, and then I played my zero cast spell,
Okay.
and it was glorious
Wow.
because it was a glorious turn. It actually turned the game for me. So I will also say that I pulled this in golden,
Oh wow.
and it is my favorite piece of golden art in the set outside of Golden Alexstrasza.
Well, I mean,
It's
in the set,
really
because
awesome.
Alistra's is not in the set. So
No, in Hearthstone.
oh, in Hearthstone. Okay, wow.
In Hearthstone, outside of Alexstrasza, this is my favorite golden art. It
That's
is
saying something.
absolutely fantastic.
Awesome.
Like the feathers ruffle, the eyes glow, and then
Whoa.
if you're looking at it, you see dark energy seeping out from the eyes, and all those tendrils are waving. It's a sick golden art.
Wow. I'll have to check that out. But we'll move on to the next Shaman epic card, and it is a epic spell. Big Bad Voodoo. 2 mana. Give a friendly minion death rattle. Summon a random minion that costs 1 more. Um, I saw this used twice yesterday, and both times it resulted in really bad results for the person who played it. Uh,
Okay.
I think the one time they put it on an 8 mana minion, I think it was a Lich King that got summoned off of something, and I killed it, and it summoned, and it made the 2/4 summon a dragon. They had no dragons in their deck,
Yep.
so it was just bad. Uh, I'm sure there's a great place for it. What do you think?
So I played this card actually quite a bit yesterday. Um, I will say that its value significantly decreases after turn 5.
Okay.
Let me rephrase that. The value significantly decreases if you play it on a minion over the cost of 5.
Okay.
So I actually put this on um, a 4 mana minion, and it gave me an Earth Elemental
Okay.
when it popped. So that was fantastic. I put it on the Earth Elemental because I had both in my hand. It They killed the Earth Elemental and it popped out a Fire Elemental. So
Solid.
I mean, you can chain that up. There are some pretty crappy neutral minions,
Okay.
but remember that Shaman minions for the most part are overstated
That's
because
fair.
most of them carry an overload when you get higher up. So you can get into the elementals and Alakir and so on and so forth. I think this card gets better with Mammoth rotation.
Okay.
Um, but as far as what it pulls from the Shaman class, now what it pulls from the neutral class, I mean, sometimes, most of the time, you're probably going to get a neutral minion. I would like to see them maybe increase the chances of getting a Shaman minion off this and decrease the chances of getting a neutral minion.
Okay.
And I think it will make the card. I think it would make the card better.
Now it summons
Um,
a random minion, so it could actually be any class card too. So there is. It's not like Discover,
yeah, well, it
but
it
class
worked.
cards inherently are better than neutral cards. So
Yeah, I didn't have it. I didn't have it pull anything other than a shaman or neutral.
okay.
So I'm not sure how that. It probably does.
Okay.
Um, but I only saw shaman and neutral minions. I
Okay.
probably played it 7, maybe 8 times over the course of the day.
Wow, that's a
So
lot. And we were there for a while, so that's a lot of testing. Let's
yeah.
go ahead and get on to the rare cards, and it's going to get into the Spirit, which the Spirit of the Frog, 3 mana, 0/3, stealth for 1 turn, like all the spirits. Whenever you cast a spell, draw a spell from your deck that costs 1 more.
Mm-hmm.
So this, I'm sure there's some way to kind of predict what spells you're going to get and kind of chain this off like crazy. Uh, I don't have enough knowledge of Shaman to validate that. What do you get from the spirit? Is it good?
I think so. So right now in Shaman, unless you're playing the Shaman Legendary spell from Boomsday, which I don't remember what it's called right now, or the Spellstone, your top end is 5 mana.
Okay.
You're running Bloodlust or Volcano,
Yeah.
depending on whether you're running Token Shaman or uh, any other Shaman. I think Token Shaman is the only one using Bloodlust right now, and I don't think it's very popular. Um, so, important thing to note on this one, and if you've not watched the Trump uh, card reveal for this,
Uh
you
huh.
definitely need to.
Okay.
He did a fantastic job of really exploring one of the things that I feel like makes this card pretty powerful. So, like I said, most of the spells are under 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, if you play this and you have a 0 casting cost spell from something like um, Farsight or Haunting Visions,
Okay.
you play that spell and it ignores the actual cost of the spell and plays it as a 0 or a 1 or a 2. So it pops it back out as what it is and allows you to chain back up. So
Oh, so you're going up, and then you farsight. It say it drops it down to this. The next you draw a spell, it drops it down to 0. Then you're going to get a 1 cost again.
and a 4 cost. When you play you get a 4 cost spell
Yeah, you'll get a 4 cost from the farsight, and then you'll get a 1 cost from. Okay, that's
from the
that.
0 casting
Wow,
cost.
that's
So
pretty nuts.
yeah, it can be powerful. Um, so I mean that combined with the whole Zentimo trick of uh, playing the um, I just lost it.
Playing has 3 copies of it. You mean?
Yeah, but the blast that does 4 and heals for 4.
Oh yeah, the healing.
The
Yeah.
yeah, so but I mean that's one of the few 4 cost shaman spells out there that's really worth anything. So it rewards you for putting stuff like that in your deck.
Okay.
So I'm really anxious to play around with this in Zentimo. I feel like Zentimo and this spirit work really well together.
Title
Uh,
search. That's the name of the card.
Title search, yeah.
Yes.
And then I feel like the spirit works really well with the Loa as well, with Kraghua. But I don't know that I don't think they work together as well as the priest. Like I don't feel like you need one to use
Yeah.
the other, but indirectly they empower one another, which I think
And
is
I don't know if that's
a
so
little bit of
much.
versatility.
I don't know if that's so much kind of a knock on the way Shaman is this set, or if it's just that Priest is a unique in that way where the champion and the lower work well together.
Oh no, I'm saying that I think this is a good thing for Shaman.
Okay.
I just don't think they got any backup really outside of what we just talked about.
Okay.
I feel like from this point down the list, it gets progressively worse.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on down that list, and we'll get to the next rare card, which is Lickum. It is a Shaman weapon, 2 mana, 1/3, has +2 attack while you have overloaded mana crystals. I I've said this before. They try to get you into the whole overloaded mana crystals, but it's a delicate balance where they don't want to put too much overloaded mana crystals because it weakens the class. But when you do synergy with it, there's not enough overloaded mana crystal cards. And I think in this set there's only one, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, I just don't see this being a very good. I mean, it's a 2 mana 3/3 uh, weapon if the overload happens, but that's usually it's only one turn. You're not going to do it multiple turns in a row.
Well, actually, right now, if you're trying to compete for board with Shaman, it's not uncommon to overload early,
Yeah,
especially with even Shaman. This doesn't really work
that's true.
because you're not playing Lightning Bolt, you're not playing Voltaic, um,
Burst.
Burst. You're not playing
Lava Burst.
Lava Burst. You're not playing Lightning Storms. You're not playing Volcano. So at 2 mana, this doesn't fit in to even Shaman.
Yeah.
You can't use it really um, in Shutterwalk, I don't think, because then you have to take out Keleseth. And I think Keleseth is an important part of Shutterwalk. So your 2 main Shaman archetypes, you can't really use this card in. So I think that automatically tips it way down. A new style of Shaman is going to have to be played and figure out how to use this. Now, there have been people that have tried to make Overload Shaman work. I think with Voltaic Burst, I think with Zentimo now, and I think since Snow Fury Giant is still in Standard, there may be a way to get it in and sneak it in on something. It gives you enough early game board control with Healing Rain to back it up that you don't have to be too worried about your life total early.
Yeah.
So I think it could be a piece of the missing puzzle to make Overload Shaman viable, but it's all going to depend on where the meta goes. If the meta stays wide and cards like Mass Hysteria and Priest work, and the board clear continues to stay one of the biggest priorities, I think Lickham has a home. But if Death Rattle Shaman continues to, or Death Rattle Hunters continues to dominate the meta along with Even Lock, or a Q Block, which I think Q Block is going to get stronger, and the Wamsandi Priest, I feel like Lickham is just, it forces you to be too slow if you go that overload route. So I don't think it will be viable then. So it really all depends on where the meta diverges. And once we figure out where that goes, we'll figure out whether this card is going to be good or not. I will say that the thing that holds this card back the most is Saronite Chain Gang. Once Saronite Chain Gang leaves, and people have to be a little more scared of this card, it might be worth putting in.
Okay.
But right now, I feel like with Saronite Chain Gang, it's just, you're going to end up bashing your head on at least one Chain Gang with it, and I don't think it's worth it right now.
Okay. Moving on to the next card is the next rare card. It's a rare Shaman minion, Bog Slosher, 3 mana, 3/3. Battlecry, return a friendly minion to your hand and give it +2/+2. It is an elemental. I really was sour on this card because I didn't think it worked very good with synergies for Shaman. But it was brought to my attention by someone at the Fireside Gathering, the pre-release yesterday, as well as yourself, that this actually does really good in like a Shutterwalk Shaman, especially when Zola transitions out of the meta, out of Standard. What do you think of this card? Because I'm still not sold on it, but I'm hearing lots of good things.
So the 3/3 body for 3, I think is still good. And I think anytime you have an impactful battle cry, being able to bounce it back to your hand is a good thing. And so far, the only class that can do that without having to run one of the pandas from the neutral is Rogue.
Okay.
So Rogue kind of has cornered the market on bouncing something back. Grumble. How many times have you grumbled and bounced more than 2 things back to your hand?
Not all that often. I mean, you want to.
Right. So really, to be able to play this, you can play one of these, bounce one thing back, and give it +2/+2. You're probably still going to be okay with the way Shutterwalk runs now. So before the set was announced, when Mammoth rotates out, Grumble rotates out with it. So Shutterwalk's future was sort of up in the air.
Yeah.
Because without any way to bounce anything back, it really diminishes the number of battle cries that Shutterwalk can push out. So I think Bog Slosher kind of fills the role of both Grumble and Zola.
Okay.
Grumble and Zola are both legendaries,
Yep.
2 spots in the deck. This is a rare, 2 slots in the deck. So it allows Shutterwalk to still happen. I think the biggest hit to Shutterwalk now will be Sarnat Chain Gang
Yes.
because you're not going to get those multiples.
Yeah. That will
So
be. And if you don't get the multiples, you're not going to copy another Shutterwalk with this unless something comes out in the next set.
right.
We'll just have to see. We'll have to see. Moving on, I think we're getting into the commons. We have a common spell, Reign of Toads, 6 mana. Summon 3 2/4 toads with taunt. Overload 3. I love this card, but I know a lot of people in the community are hot and cold on this card. Nobody really sees it down the middle. When you evaluate it for a 9 mana's worth of value, 3 2/4s, Phantom Militia comes to my mind, and that's 3 2/4s for 9 mana. Uh, you know, across the echo effects. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's good. What do you think?
I like it better when I pull it with a Farsight um, or a Shadows,
Okay.
or I'm sorry, not a Shadows, a Haunting Visions. Um, I think right now Volcano fits the spot in a Shaman deck that would play. I think it takes where this would go. It does
Okay.
the need that this really fulfills, which is a need to stave off damage.
All right.
Um, against something like a like a recovering paladin. Like right now, if you are to manage to board clear a paladin and cast Rain of Toads, you're not going to get to do the next turn as a shaman because
Yeah.
both of them are going to carry an overload.
True.
But that makes them have to spend their next turn reloading too. So, I mean, its window is very small. Now, once Volcano rotates and you don't have that massive board clear at 5, I think Rain of Toads will start to see play because you're going to need something to allow you to fight for board.
Okay.
And Shaman just doesn't have anything outside of the um, Lightning Storm once Volcano rotates to really do anything
True.
to the board once it gets out of hand. So I think Rain of Toads is going to have some big shoes to fill when the time comes. But I think right now I don't think it sees very much play.
Okay. Next one we have is Totemic Smash. It's a common shaman spell, 1 mana, deal 2 damage, overkill, summon a basic totem. Honestly, I don't think the overkill really matters here. The fact that you're doing one mana for 2 damage that can go anywhere, including face, is pretty strong. I think this is gonna reinvent a Malagos shaman again. What do you think?
Um, I think early game, this is a card that has a lot of impact. It allows you to take out that flame imp before it does a lot of damage. It
Okay.
allows you to take out, uh, it allows you to take out one of the two 1/1s created by the Odd Paladin's power and create a totem to deal with the other one. Um, early game, I think this does okay. I think combined with Wrath of Air Totem, now you're talking 3 damage. Um, I think that makes for a great turn 3 combo.
Okay.
Um, once you get past turn 4, the value of this card goes way down.
Okay.
And I don't know that Malagos Shaman has enough support behind it to really to really find a spot. Part of what made Malagos Shaman really possible was elemental devastation or elemental destruction. I don't remember if it's devastation or destruction. But anyways, it was the one that dealt 5 damage to everything on the board.
Yeah,
It
elemental
allowed you.
destruction. Yeah.
It allowed you to. It allowed you to survive. Without a card like that, I mean, Volcano does okay, but at 5 mana, you've taken a lot of damage. You're going to have to invest a lot to get back up to where you can get the Malagos out. I don't know if there's enough help to make Malagos Shaman a thing right now. Maybe once rotation happens, maybe we see something different. So
So,
I think
well,
early game this is good. I think it's a dead draw later, and I don't know that Shaman needs very many dead draws.
does this allow possibly a spitball in here for an odd shaman? Because a lot of your burn is in the odd. You have lightning bolt, you have totemic smash, you have lava burst, and with the 2 mana uh, upgraded hero power, you can select the Wrath of Air totem. You can actually have multiple Wrath of Air totems if you want.
Yes. So look at what we've got in this set for odd Shaman. You've got Zentimo, right?
Uh huh.
You miss out on Kraghua, so you don't
Okay,
have your Loa, right?
it's fine.
But remember, the important part about this, when I was talking about earlier, is that both the Loa and the hero work with the spirit, but they don't necessarily need to chain into each other.
Yeah.
The spirit is 3, so it fits in odd. Haunting Visions, 3. Um, Bog Schlosser, 3.
Okay.
So you can make a minion bigger. It doesn't necessarily have to be used for Shudderwalk. You've got the Totemic Smash, which is one. You've got the Lightning Bolt. You've got the Lava Burst. You've got Healing Rain. You've got Lightning Storm. You've got Volcano. You've got
All your
Earth
damage, pretty
Elemental.
much.
Yeah, you got Earth Elemental. But you miss out on Hagatha. And right
Okay.
now, Hagatha is so important for the Shaman late game. I
But you
don't
could
know
you
that
could play Thrall though.
you could, but there's so many crap minions now in the 6+ slot.
It's fair.
I don't think Thrall is worth it. Um,
Well, maybe you don't even run anything that high. Maybe it's all low cost minions. Maybe it's a burn. It's a burn shaman.
yeah, and once again, I would be okay with that. And this is gonna sound awful, and I know that there's gonna be people out there that hate me for this. But if there was a Barnes-like effect to allow you to get a Malagos out early, then yeah, I would say so. But I mean, really, you're looking at
Yeah,
if
the
you're
only way I know
talking
of is Eureka, but Eureka's not a nod. That's a six.
right,
That's
it's
six
a
cost.
6, and so with and that's what I say when I look at Shaman, I don't see an identity. There's,
Yeah,
I mean, so much of what it does is so all over the place compared to the other classes. If it goes even, much like Rogue, if it goes even, it misses all of its clear.
yeah,
It has virtually no removal um, outside of Hex.
true.
Um, so it can't really go. If you go even, you're trading in board tempo. You're going to lose most of the time to Odd Paladin.
Yeah,
So if Odd Paladin is running in the meta, that's a matchup you're probably not going to win. I don't think it pairs really well against even Paladin either. And I think against Zoo, I think if Zoo draws the nuts and Shaman draws the nuts, I think even Shaman is still unfavored against Zoo.
hmm
Um, so in looking at where Shaman is, um, there hasn't been a spell based Shaman that has worked. There's not been a true elemental Shaman. Um, you can't really run an aggro Shaman right now. You don't have enough
yeah,
early game support. You can't really run a mid-range Shaman right now. You don't really have mid-range Shaman minions. They're all neutral.
hmm
Corpse Taker, Sarnat Chain Gang. You
true.
know, it's hard to run even a tempo style. You can run elemental. Elemental Shaman can work. It just needs a lot of help. And I think that when looking at these cards, I don't think even Shaman got any help at all. Shutterwalk is so inconsistent. I don't know that anything in here really affects Shutterwalk. I don't know that anything helps. I think anything from this set that you add into Shutterwalk makes it more inconsistent right now. So really, if any of the Shaman archetypes are really going to get helped right now, I think it's probably the Elemental. But it's like, what do you take out of the current Elemental list that doesn't impede your ability to cast and chain Elementals?
Sure.
Because I mean, part of what really makes that deck work is making sure that you have an Elemental to push out for your Blaze Caller. As an important part of that in your Calamos. So if someone can find a way to turn these to help this spell chain really, I guess
go off.
cooperate. Well, to go off and cooperate and empower a tempo style shaman, I think that's where it's going to be.
Okay.
But I think it's going to be complicated, and I'm just going to be. It pains me to say this as a shaman player, but I feel like independently looking at these cards, I feel like they look powerful. But in conjunction with the cohesiveness of all the other classes, I feel like Shaman is probably outside of even Shaman. I feel like Shaman is probably a tier 4 class right now. Until it gets some sort of identity in some direction outside of being exclusively even, I feel like it's going to fall behind the other classes because I can look at all the other classes right now and give you at least one tier 1 or high tier 2 deck as far as a tournament meta is concerned, except for maybe Mage.
Yeah, Mage is in a bad spot right now.
But I feel like Mage got so much help
and
direction with this set that it is going to leave Shaman behind once the set drops. I mean, we still have one more. Yeah, we still have one more Shaman card to go. But I mean, I know that was a long answer for Totemic Smash, but I think in the grand scheme of things, without an identity to help Shaman later, it can't afford a dead draw like Totemic Smash will be late.
Okay, we will get into last common card. It is Wartbringer. It's a 1-mana 2/1 minion. Battle cry. If you played 2 spells this turn, deal 2 damage. I saw this used. I saw it misused a lot this weekend. It's kind of hot garbage. What do you think?
So, I think this works well in conjunction with Visions.
Okay, Haunting Visions.
Yeah, and I think it works well if you're running that far sight into Visions into Spirit type of trying to chain those spells along. With it being 1, I also don't think it's a bad turn 1 tempo. Something that Shaman doesn't have outside of Firefly. Once Firefly rotates, there really isn't a 1-drop for Shaman that you're going to want to put out.
That's true.
So that's why another reason why I think even Shaman is so popular. You just totem on the first turn.
Yeah.
So if there is help coming in the next expansion for Shaman, Wartbringer may be something that allows it to fight for early board presence. Because once again, even if you don't deal the 2 damage, a 2/1 takes out a Flame Imp. A 2/1, maybe you first turn Wartbringer, second turn Lickum, and that Righteous Protector isn't as hard to deal with.
True.
So I I guess so many people are honed in on the battle cry because the battle cry is just okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't really seem to fit well with the one casting cost, but look at
True.
it in terms of versatility. Um, Merc Spark, if I'm not mistaken, goes away with Mammoth, right?
I
Or did it come out in Witchwood?
think it came out in Witchwood. I'm not sure though.
We'll have to
Uh,
look on that one.
yeah.
Uh, but if 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 it
But a Merc Spark's only usable in even, anyways.
right, so this is an odd version of Merc Spark, and you don't have to combo it like you have to with SI7 agent
You
in the same
kind of
play.
have to combo. I mean, you
Right.
have to cast other spells, so in a sense
If
you
you
do.
played two spells.
But
So
but to be honest, if this has the same effect as say an SI, but it's 2 mana less, it might be just as good.
yeah, and once again, I think if you're playing Farsight and you're playing Visions, it's not going to be that hard to meet the requirements, especially with a one casting cost.
Yeah.
So
All
the
right.
question is, does it see play because of other things? I think right now Shaman's very neutral heavy. You're
Yes.
gonna have to find cards that aren't neutrals. That I mean, you're gonna have to compete against the cards that are neutrals that have been filling Shaman decks for a while that people are just used to playing,
That's true.
that are comfortable includes for them.
All right. So we've gone over priest, rogue, shaman. Is there any class that kind of stood out of those three that you think is going to be the front runner?
So going into this, I felt like Priest and Shaman were going to be in the worst shape. Um, that was going into the pre-release.
Uh huh.
Coming out of the pre-release, I'm not as worried about Priest as I was. I
Okay.
do think the Priest deck we end up seeing is going to be heavily dependent on where the meta goes
Yes.
um, 2 or 3 weeks after launch. Um, I think Rogue is going to be a catch you off guard deck,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think it will be a mainstream meta deck. I think you may see some Pirate Rogue in tournaments. I think even Rogue will crop up. Um, but I think the existing Rogue decks weren't really countered by anything in this expansion that I can
Okay.
see.
Yeah.
So I don't see any reason for them to change. I think Quest Rogue and Odd Rogue are still going to be at the top of Rogue. And then Shaman, I don't see the Shaman decks changing much either. I would it's my hope that once the set drops, I know I'm going to be playing around with Shaman cards. Hopefully, as I said before, people smarter than me out there are playing around and they figure out some other style of Shaman than what we've currently been running. Um,
General and even.
that that works, that abuses Zentimo and the Spirit and Kraghua, but I don't looking at it right now. I feel like I may be so upset by the fact that there's not enough vision and direction from Team Five in Shaman for my liking. And when I say that, there's just compared to all the other classes that I'm probably missing something.
Yeah.
But I think it's very telling that in the reveal video, they brought out a pretty much standard Knights of the Frozen Throne Evolved Shaman
True.
instead of trying to show off what the set has, because I don't think there was a direction. Um, so, since this is the last reveal for the classes, I'm going to kind of put you on the spot for a second.
Okay.
Um, we got to see a lot of the classes. Now, did you get a chance to play through all of the pre-constructed decks?
No, I did not. I got about 6 of them. I
Okay,
didn't get to play with the shaman. I didn't get to play with the hunter, and there was one more I didn't get to play with. That might have been the other ones I didn't play with.
okay. So, out of the ones you played, what did you feel like was the strongest?
Warlock.
Yeah.
It's like a tie between warlock and mage, but
So
I think Mage is maybe the strongest class, but of the pre-constructed, the Warlock was the stronger deck of the of the recipes that we got to play.
So going in, I would have thought that my top three in the power rankings were probably going to be Paladin, Warrior, and Warlock, right?
So
So
so now you asked me what I thought the best recipe deck of the ones I played was.
well, but I mean, we can't really see
That's true.
outside of those recipe decks. So I'm just going
That's true.
completely off the recipe decks that were in the set. Uh, if I'm ranking the recipe decks going in, I would have thought Paladin because I think that heal Paladin is pretty neat looking.
Yes.
Um, Warrior and probably Warlock because that discard lock looked pretty sick.
Yeah.
I can tell you that discard lock is way more consistent than I thought it would be.
It's sick.
Um, so coming out, I feel like it is Warlock, Priest, Warrior, but I still feel like Warrior had a really good showing.
I don't know. The Mage deck was really good.
Um, I like the Mage deck. I just feel like it's going to get overrun.
I
There
will.
wasn't any real pressure.
I will say I wanted the Paladin recipe deck to be really good, and it's not bad. Don't get me wrong,
Uh-huh.
but I think you take the Paladin recipe deck as a shell, and then you fine tune it, and it's gonna be one of the top decks out there. Now that saddens me because I want to go. I want to make a Holy Wrath Paladin deck. I want to just get silly with Paladin, like I usually do with my control Paladins. And I think because there isn't a because control paladin won't be like your top paladin to play, nobody's gonna play it.
Yeah.
Which is a double-edged sword for me because that makes me sad because I want paladin to be good. I want paladin to be viable. At the same time, because if I'm one of the few people that make control paladin good, nobody else is gonna play it, and then I'll take advantage of that. Now we have had a drought of time where control paladin just has not been viable, and I'm hoping that drought has ended with some of these tools, and I'm really excited for paladin.
I think Paladin will be very diverse once the
Mm-hmm.
set drops.
Oh yeah,
Um, as diverse as Druid. I don't know that Druid got any help in this expansion, but I don't feel like it
no,
was hurt by any of the archetypes that were pushed out. So I think
I
it's
would
still
agree
going to
with
be
you.
strong. So I mean, I think once the set drops, I think your top classes are going to be uh, still. Um, I think Death Rattle Hunter. I didn't see anything in this set that really just jumps out at me. It says we're going to dethrone Death Rattle Hunter. Um, so I
That's
think you're
fair.
looking at Hunter. I think you're looking at Paladin. I think you're looking at Warlock as your top three classes because I think that
Yeah,
discard lock is going to be pretty sick. And then you've got Zoo Lock, you've got discard lock, you've got cube lock, you've got even lock, and all of them are I feel like going to be viable. So I think you've got that Paladin Druid uh, where they're going to be varied as well.
yeah,
So I think you've got four classes at the top that are going to really, I feel like, separate themselves from everybody else in the
I would
start.
agree.
So
Yeah, I would agree. I'm excited for this set. It's going to be a lot of fun. And at the time of this recording, we only have 2 days. I
yep.
know Tuesday, I do feel a little tickled in my throat. I think I'll be
Oh,
able
do
to
you?
battle through it tomorrow. But Tuesday may end up. I might have to leave work early. I don't know.
Yeah.
It might be setting in my chest about that day.
Uh
Uh,
huh. Glad your owner isn't a patron.
he might be. So I'll double check that. Anyways, a lot of fun. The guys at work always joke with me whenever there's a set reveal or something like that. They're always like, "Do you have an appointment this afternoon?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got an appointment this afternoon." So I end up cutting out early, which my boss is really cool with. So
Yeah. Well,
he
so
understands my love of gaming.
I just wanted to take a second to not only thank you for putting the time and effort that you put into to doing these slides and Yeah, I know people that are used to listening to the show are used to Avanti's being the technical guru behind getting all this set up. But you put a lot of hard work and set up into this, and he actually, to my knowledge, didn't help you very much. Uh,
No, he didn't help me at all. What are you
I was
talking?
getting ready to say,
As a matter of
I
fact,
don't think it
I
was at
did
all.
his slideshow as well.
Um,
So all the
so
layouts of the slideshow, I did them.
so I just wanted to first of all say thank you for putting it together, and then I also wanted to
See,
take this chance to thank you for being the super positive guy that you always are in our Discord and on our show. I really tried hard to think back of a time where you didn't try to look at the positive on
yeah,
something that was going on. And I think that's a very underappreciated quality. So I don't know that you get thanked for it enough. So I wanted to take this chance while we weren't on the show and we weren't under time constraints, um, to just say thank you for always taking that positive route and for trying to encourage people that maybe aren't being maybe they aren't being as positive, or maybe they're having a harder time. And I know that for you, it's important to see people grow and people
yeah,
have a good time, and you're very vocal about making sure that that happens in a positive way. And
yeah.
just wanted to take a chance to thank that.
I
Thank you
appreciate you.
for that.
I
From
appreciate that you
yeah,
notice it. I'll be honest, and people that know me in real life, I tend to have a negative outlook on life. Mainly, it's focused on myself. I generally am a negative person, but Hearthstone just I can look at Hearthstone and I just see positives all the time. And I know there's negatives in some of the news that breaks out and some of the community, but when it comes down to it, because we're enjoying a game, even if there's things about it we don't like, overall we're enjoying it. And the community is constantly, especially our Discord, is constantly growing and churning ideas and cheering each other on. And you can't post a hey, I got ranked 10 without people saying, hey, congrats, good job, and instead of bashing you about it only being ranked 10. And because that this community fosters so much positivity, I just have to give it back. That's just how I am. When it comes to this game, I just love Hearthstone, and I see Hearthstone being really good. Sure, there's things about it that I don't like at times, but usually they fix those, and if they don't fix them, they replace them with something else that I do enjoy. But going back to my preparations on these slides. Um, no, Avanti's didn't help me. I know he's kind of the technical guru. I like to show my chops every now and then that I can do it. But when you have somebody like Avanti's around that will do the work, I can be lazy. So
fair enough. And I would say it's probably less negative outlook and more just self doubt.
maybe that's what it is. But we're
But
not getting on a self help show here. I do
I
want
just
to
wanted
thank.
to say thanks.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate you noticing it. I want to also throw out a huge thank you to our patrons. We make this content for you. We're trying to do more. Sometimes we run out of ideas of stuff to do, but when we come up with something that we know we can pass on to the patrons first, for helping us and making sure the show keeps going, that's what this is for. If you want to be part of that, please go to patreon.com/hero power and just consider $1 a month, be part of the community, and help stuff like this get created. And when we have exclusive content for our patrons, you'll be the first one to see it. So I'm really excited that we could do these videos. And again, check us out Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time over at heropowerhs.com or twitch.tv/ECMMO gamers. Have a good weekend.
See you later.